Welcome to the 5 for 2 podcast with me, your host Adele, where we say no to careers where you're trading 5 days of misery for 2 days of fun. A place we discuss all things career, confidence, and money moves. I want to motivate, teach, and empower ambitious women to achieve more, earn more, feel more confident, and enjoy the work they do. It's all about believing you can have everything you want in your career and then going and getting it. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I want to welcome you to this week's episode. I'm very excited about this episode because I have a guest and we're actually going to be talking about what happens when you're the go-to person, but it's stalling your career instead of propelling you forward. And I'm just excited to talk about this topic because I know so many of you have asked me questions around this, like I'm the go-to person, but I can't move forward. What's going on? So I'm really excited to have my guest. Today, I'm going to be joined by Katy McFee, who is an executive coach and the founder of Insights to Action. She helps high-performing women finally break through the director to VP ceiling. With her background, it's in biotech and tech. She's drove 8-figure revenue growth. So she definitely knows firsthand how to rise in a male-dominated environment. And I feel like she would be the perfect person to speak on this topic because she has been through something similar herself. So I'm going to welcome Katy. Hi, Katy.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, thank you for being here. Let the listeners know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my background's tech and biotech. I had an 18-year corporate career where I eventually became a VP and then an EVP. And one thing I always like to share is that my journey to the top was not a straight line. So there was a lot of challenge. I really struggled with that transition from manager to director to VP. And what I noticed once I finally got there was that so many women around me struggled with the exact same things I did. And I was seeing them get stuck at the manager or at the director level as well. So that is the basis of my business today. Insights to Action was born. And that's what I do. I help women cross that chasm, land their first VP roles, and really ensure they are thriving there without burning out. So my big mission is to help close the leadership gap that we see and get more women a seat at the table, because I just think that's better for everyone.
Oh, I love that. I love that you said that as well, because that crossover I think is huge. Even from manager just to going to head of or to director, that is even a really hard step for a lot of women. And then the next step to VP, I feel like that is where even I speak to so many of my clients and they'll come to me specifically for that. They're like, I can book the interviews. I cannot close the deal. I've been in my manager role for this long and the director role has come up within the company and I still can't land it. So I am really excited to talk to you about it. And I love that you've been through it. I've definitely been through it in my career. But what do you think it is that so many women can land the manager role? And a lot of women seem to land the manager role quite easily. And yes, I know there's different barriers that hold us back even to get the manager role, but a lot of women seem to get to the manager level and then head of, director, VP, they get stuck. What do you feel like is the biggest reason that you've seen for this?
Yeah, so there's two things that are really jumping out to me. And one of them is that when you get that first promotion to manager, to team lead or manager, it's often because you're working way harder than anyone else, right? You're putting up your hand for extra projects. You're that go-to person and you are rewarded for that. The challenge is that once you are a manager or a senior manager or a director and you want to get to that next level, that strategy no longer works. And because we were rewarded for it early in our career, we tend to think like, I'm just going to do that again. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do more. And suddenly that's not what they want to see anymore. Instead, leadership wants to see you demonstrate that you are capable of operating at the next level. Just outworking your colleagues is not going to work anymore. And no one really tells us this. So I see a lot of women doing the wrong things and doing it really hard, doing it a lot, burning themselves out. And it's just not the right thing. So that's one of the biggest reasons. And the second one is we tend to get caught in this perception trap where we can be seen as not ready for the next level, even if we are. And that is often based on maybe the way we're communicating, maybe what we are prioritizing or not prioritizing. But oftentimes, it's not that we don't have great ideas. It's not that we can't excel at the right level, but we are unintentionally creating the perception that we aren't ready. So those are like the big two meaty things that I see hold women back.
Oh, I love the perception thing. I think is so important because I say all the time that in corporate, perception is reality. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what you intend. It doesn't matter if you are capable, if you are not perceived as capable. And that comes down to sometimes even visibility. I'm an introvert. So I learned really early on that perception was everything. It wasn't that I couldn't do the work. It wasn't that I couldn't lead. They perceived me that way because I was quieter than maybe my colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
The minute I got more visible, the minute I started talking about my wins, the minute I started sharing more, the perception of who I was changed. And I think it's really important that we speak about perception because, again, I believe perception in corporate is reality. It doesn't matter what the actual reality is. However you are perceived is how you will be treated in the corporate world. And then the thing you said about doing, oh my gosh, that's so important. Like, I feel like that was me for so long. I'm a doer. And even now, even after holding director and top, like sitting on boards and stuff like that, I still am that person who will just get stuck in. And when you do, and you're not seen as a strategic thinker, I think that makes, and that again is perception, it makes a huge difference. Like we're taught to do as women, we do it at home with our kids. Like we just get stuck in. But when you get to that level at corporate, managers, yeah, they do. They can get their hands dirty, do the operational stuff. But instead of talking about what you do, you now have to talk about future planning. So I want you to just, can you expand a little bit more on like the perception and the doing part of it that you've seen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I jump right into the piece on doing,
Yeah.
I think as women, we often maybe based around some like conditioning about being a pleaser and being a perfectionist, like all of this stuff is often ingrained in us in the way we grow up, and as a result we almost feel guilty if we aren't producing. Like we feel like work needs to be hammering stuff out, being on calls, being in meetings. And the truth is, in order to start operating in a more strategic way, you need to slow down. And
Mhm.
I always say, like, if you are stuck in this doer mentality where you are just like banging out work and getting, and this is exactly me when I was a director. And the levels are a little bit different, right? In the United States versus
Yes.
in the UK. And so,
Yeah.
director in North America is under VP, right? So the next level you're trying to go is you go from manager to director to VP. And I was working super hard and I was so dedicated to this company. I was traveling all the time. I was running my function. I was trying to get this VP role. But the problem was I was being seen as a doer because I was acting like a doer. Like it was
Mm.
true. Yes, I had great ideas, but I wasn't slowing down long enough to really put together my strategic ideas, to really think about like, how am I communicating things to people? Am I focused on the right things? And it was just so ingrained in me that doing more was the thing that I was good at. And, it took me a while, truthfully, to really understand the power of slowing down in order to speed up. Like spending your time more intentionally is going to help you to be a better leader. And this is also going to help you to fix that perception problem, because the more you slow down and start showing up with intention, the
Mm.
more you are able to, really control the way that you are perceived. And, you made a great point when you said perceptions are reality. I totally agree. I'm
Mm.
like, we like to say it doesn't matter what people think about us. I'm like, if your boss does not think you're ready, that matters.
Right?
That's your
Exactly.
reality. Yeah.
Exactly. Like there's areas of your life where you can say, I don't care what people think about me. That's great. But in corporate, if you want to move up, if you want to make serious money, if you want that VP title, you have to care about what people think about you because their perception can literally hold your career up or push your career forward. So I think, yeah, we don't have a choice when it comes to the corporate world. and to moving up and to getting the seat at the table, especially as women. Why do you think, or do you think, it's harder for women than it is for men to show that they're not necessarily doers and that they can actually step back and slow down, like you said?
Hmm. Honestly, I think men are just better at giving themselves permission
Mm.
to work less,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
execute less, right? Like I think for us, it's almost that most this was the case with me, and this is the case with so many of my clients, where when I say block out 2 hours of deep work time, which is
Mhm.
a recommendation I give a lot. Like if anyone follows me and you haven't heard me say this, like I'm shocked because I say it a lot. And people still don't do it. And I'll ask why. And they're like, well, I block it out, but then someone wants to block over it and I let them, or
Mhm.
my team needs me. And so I do think that it is a lot of this sort of pleaser mentality that's ingrained in us as women, like as
Yeah.
girls, when we grow up, when we're told, put other people first, don't make a fuss, like be easy to work with. You
Yes.
know, I think men are just better at saying like, no, I'm not available right now. And that serves them. And this was something that, I remember observing when I was a VP. I remember there was another one of my counterparts on the leadership team where I was like just doing so freaking much stuff, okay? And this guy was just like put together a strategy. Like but like people were like, this is really good. I'll look at what he's put together. And in my head, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, that's all he's done. But it actually
Yeah.
hit me that I was like, oh, instead of being mad, I could take a page from this guy's book. It doesn't mean I'm
Mhm.
going to go all the way to that side and do nothing but, put
Mhm.
together a slide deck for 2 weeks. Like, what if I just like went 15% in that direction?
Mhm.
Right? Like, what could that do for me? And so I think a lot of it with women is like, we need to give ourselves permission because guess what, ladies? People will keep giving you stuff. Like, your boss is
Yes.
not going to be the one to be like, hey, looks like you're doing too much work. Why don't we clear out your calendar and give you some strategic thinking time? Like, only you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, the calendar thing is such a good example because I've been definitely guilty of that, like blocking out 2 or 3 hours, like I'm not going to do anything. And then someone's like, I'm desperate, I need you. And even if I've got my teams on do not disturb, I'll see, like, I'm really bad at the do not disturb thing because I'll still kind of every hour check my messages and I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, okay, they really need help. And that's a habit that I really have to work against myself because it's something that I naturally want to help people. And it's a bit of what you said, the pleaser thing. And I know a lot of women that are listening to this, they feel the same. Like you just are like, especially if it's that person that you really like at work and you know that you could just answer them and you can give them the answer in like 2 seconds. It will
Yeah.
take, and it's always that it will just take me 2 minutes. But all those 2 minutes add up.
Well, not just that. It's like, yeah, it'll take you 2 minutes to respond to this message. But guess what? If you're working on like something strategic, if you're in deep
Mm,
work and then you move to go answer a 2 minute Slack or Teams message, and then you go back, you don't lose 2 minutes because the switching cost is like
yes.
21 minutes. So if you think,
Oh.
yeah, it's much bigger than most people think. And so I always say, like, this is hard. And especially if you are in the habit of being hyper responsive and like
Mm.
answering people within 5 minutes, I'm like, you need to block out this time and you need to be like on focus, like put your phone on focus. And it's like a joke, actually, even within my team and my friends, like people know it's like, don't try to call me between between like 9 and 5. Like my phone's on do not disturb. I have no notifications on Slack. I have no notifications on email. I have no notifications on social media, even though my entire business is built on LinkedIn. Like
Yeah.
pretty much every one of my clients who works with me found me on LinkedIn. And I always tell them this. I'm like, heads up, if I can have no notifications on LinkedIn and go like the whole day without checking it, you can go 2 hours without checking Slack. Like nothing's on fire. Like you're not performing open heart surgery. They're okay.
Oh my
But
gosh,
it's
I
the
love that
habit.
you said that because I was one of my bosses used to always say, "We're not doing brain surgery, relax." And that's always stuck with me. Like,
Yeah.
calm down. We're not doing like it's not that serious. And I think something you said about the responsiveness, I feel like good managers are immediately responsive, but directors and
Mm.
VPs, not so much. And I want people that are listening to really think about what Katie just said, because if you're currently a manager, if you're a team leader, if you're just someone who's working as, just normal worker on your way to management, think about your directors and VPs. How often have you said, oh my gosh, they're so lazy. They never respond to emails. They're always busy, but what are they actually doing? Have you noticed that? And if you've noticed that, that's exactly what Katie's talking about. She's
Yeah.
talking about the fact that our perception might be, oh, what are they actually doing? But they're blocking out time and they do not care to be responsive. And a lot of us, when we're at management level or like, and just working, we'll look at directors and VPs and be thinking, they don't do anything because they never respond to me. Why are they always so busy? But that's the difference. Managers are super immediately responsive, always ready to help the team. But that next level, and I want people to just picture it because I feel like, Kate, I feel like you touched on something that's really important because, especially men, any male VP or director I've worked for, if I can get them during that day, I am lucky. If I can get a
Mhm.
response in 48 hours, I'm lucky. I will get a response, but it will not be on my timeline. It will not be immediately responsive because they are doing other strategic things. They are looking at the company as an overall. They are not firefighting the small things that maybe me as a manager thinks are really serious and need to be dealt with now because their expectation is me as a manager will find a way to resolve it without their input.
Mhm. And I mean, the other piece of that is so many of us feel like we need to say yes to everything. Like we struggle to say no. And I always say this
Mm.
the same sort of comparison. Look at the VPs in your company, especially the ones that you really admire. Are they
Yeah.
saying yes to everything? Like probably not. They're probably not like,
Def-
oh yeah, like I'll plan that event. I'll do that. Like,
absolutely not. And I think what you said about women, we worry so much about pleasing. Like we worry that we'll come across rude, whereas men do not care. They will be like, I'm being direct. I'm letting you know the bound. This is what it is. And a man will say no and not even second guess it. But I feel like as women, sometimes we'll say no and then they maybe think about it for the next 3 hours because we feel like we've been rude or we shouldn't have said no.
absolutely. Absolutely. And part of it, like one thing I always say to people is if this is something you really struggle with, take the time and come up with some language that feels really good to you. Because
Mm.
oftentimes it's just that we haven't learned how to say no in a way that feels good, right? We don't have the words and it can feel awkward to be like, no, that's not, that's not a priority for me. And so I'm like, well, no, you can find a way to push back in a way where you're still maybe expressing gratitude that they thought of you. You're giving a sound reason why this is not a priority right now. And then maybe you're making a recommendation on what they could do instead or who else they could reach out to, right? And so you can push back in a way that still feels good to you. And I think that that is so important for women to learn to do because I'm like, if you can't say no now, like you need to learn to say no once you're at that next level. You absolutely need to be able to do it because if you don't, one, you're going to be just like run off your feet in terms of
Mm.
the amount of stuff you're going to be doing. Like once you get to that next level, you need to be able to prioritize. So that just simply means saying no to some things. But two, you are communicating to people that your time is not valuable if you don't say no to anything, right?
Mm.
You're saying like that you don't value your own time. And so then why should they?
Oh, I really like that. And I really like that tip about finding a way to say no that feels good to you. I think a lot of people push the narrative that just say no, it's a full sentence. But for a
Yeah.
lot of us, that doesn't feel comfortable. So I really like that tip that you just gave. And I hope anyone who was listening, if you didn't, go back, rewind, listen, because that's a really strong tip. Like we can say the things that we want to say, no being one of them, but we don't have to just say no and that be a complete sentence if that doesn't feel good to us. And I really like that tip. Like I really like that you shared that because I do think a lot of us just saying no with nothing else, no context, no follow up, doesn't feel good and is why we end up just saying yes to everything.
Well, exactly. And if it doesn't feel authentic, don't
Yeah.
do it. Like if someone's giving you
Ooh.
advice that does not feel authentic to you, it's probably not right for you. And this was something I took with me throughout my whole career. Cause like, especially as a senior leader, you have to do things that are not fun. You sometimes have to fire
Yeah.
people. You have to give people constructive feedback. Sometimes you have to deal with like a peer, like another VP who overstepped. Like you have to have hard conversations all the time. And so I would always ask myself, okay, how do I do the right thing that's really uncomfortable, but how do I do it in a way that still feels good to me? Instead of just following generic advice, right? I'm like, that's just not helpful when people are like, oh, just say no, just tell
Yeah.
them this. And I'm like, well, I'm an empath and I care about people.
Mhm.
And, connection is something that's really important to me as a leader and as a peer. And so sometimes that advice just doesn't land for me. And so I need to find my own way to do it that is going to get the outcome I want, but still feel authentic.
Oh, yeah. No, I really like that. You've answered so many of my questions that I was going to ask you already just in this conversation, but I do have another one for you. Do you have an example of where you went from being like a doer um to someone who was leading in a way that changed the trajectory of your career?
Oh, 100%. Like, yeah. So I mentioned that when I was in my director role, this
Mm,
is when I was really stuck in, I'm going to say, this doer mentality, right? Or in the habit of being a doer. And I think that like when I was still in that role was when I first started to at least recognize that I needed to start doing something differently. But I would say I didn't make the full change until I stepped into my VP role. Um, when I landed a VP role, I made the conscious decision that like I am going to show up as a VP from day one. So one of the things I did, we had to share metrics reporting every month. And I decided to take this as an opportunity to really demonstrate my expertise, really understand my department, and start to make strategic decisions as a leader. And so, old me, when I would present metrics, it would be like, okay, metrics, let's say we have to present metrics, I don't know, the first day of the month. I'd sit down, I'd go to the dashboards, I'd take all the metrics, I'd put them in the sheet, and like that would be it, right?
mhm,
And I recognized pretty quickly, like, this was not serving me. One, because if somebody asked me a question and I couldn't answer it, that's not a good look. But two, it's like I got out of my own way enough to realize that this exercise is not just important for me to report up and cross functionally, it's also important for me to make good decisions for my department. And once I was a VP, I think it's like the stakes were just high enough that I figured this out. And so I started actually spending like a fair bit of time putting this together and really diving in and understanding what was happening underneath these trends, like why conversions were changing, all that kind of stuff. And I remember one particular report I was putting together, and there was something that we weren't expecting to see. And I really dove in and did like a full deep dive. I talk about deep work time. That's what I was doing. I was
mm.
diving into the metrics. I was like testing hypotheses. I was figuring things out. And I had a huge insight in terms of why it was happening and how I could use this information to help the company grow. And it was game changing. Like it was really what I think helped to like put me on the map as a leader. And I just, therefore, I made the decision once that happened and I saw the value, I was like, I will never not do this. Like, I'm just going to do this every single month. And I remember it was funny because at this particular company, after, and it was like a year and a half, 2 years, we were told like, oh, you don't have to submit this report anymore. They were just making some changes to our processes. And I told my team, I'm like, oh no, we're still doing it. Because I realized that I was at the point where I was getting such important information through going through this exercise that it was helping me to make great decisions for how I was running my function and all of these other things. Like the value went beyond me
Mm.
just wanting to impress my colleagues. And so I really believe like once you start to make this transition and once you really start to do the deep work, you see the value and you're like, I will never stop doing this.
I love that because a little bit of what you said also shows that you still had the doer in you, but you just switched it. You put that same energy just on the other side.
Yes. Well, okay. So that's the thing. To me, when I say slow down, I do mean actually take pauses in your day. I think it's good for you to take a
Yes.
break and eat a real lunch and maybe go for a walk around the block. I think those things are important because when we don't rest, we're just not at our cognitive best,
Yeah.
period. But the other thing when I say slow down that I mean is shift the kind of work you're doing
Mm.
from solely execution, pen to paper, calls and meetings, to spending time consuming information and ideating. And most leaders are not spending their time doing this, okay? Because most are caught up in this trap of just doing calls and meetings and things all day long. And if you can be someone who's spending, I don't know, 5% of your time, a couple hours a week, ideating and really thinking about the bigger problems in your department and thinking about like, what are the things we can do that are really going to move the needle, and consuming really great like leadership information that's going to help you do that. And then, spending time thinking about how do I apply this? If you can implement that, you will put yourself in the top, I don't know, 5%, 2%, simply because so many people are not doing it. And you will set yourself apart by doing that.
Oh, such good advice. All the ladies listening, don't just pull the Power BI report. Investigate, understand it, get the detail. Like, what are the trends? And I definitely agree with this. Like, when you can present, like, why is something happening and nobody else has seen the pattern yet, and you bring it to the table, it is definitely a game changer. It is, the respect is different. The way you're seen is different. Especially because I feel, especially in corporate, it's still like this till this day. Women are not seen as strategic as men. We are not seen as future thinkers as men are, as easily as men are. But we have probably more of it in us because of the pleaser in us. If we use that superpower, we're able to see a lot of trends and patterns, and we're able to predict and have those conversations when we're looking for it. So yeah, don't just pull the Power BI report. Do what Katie said. How can someone tell if they've fallen into that execution trap? Like, if they've fallen into the trap of being a doer, firstly, how can they even tell? Because I do think that a lot of women won't even put themselves in that category. They'll automatically be like listening to this and saying, well, that's not me. But how can someone tell that they've fallen into the execution trap? And what's the first step of getting out?
Well, if you want to do a little test, look at your calendar.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Your calendar is a bunch of like conjoined blocks with no space. And if you feel overwhelmed all the time, you're definitely in this. Right? Like,
Yep.
just because if you have space in your calendar, you feel different. So you can do that quick test. Take a look at your calendar. Ask yourself, when I think about it, when I was really in this mode, it was obvious. I was, a little bit frantic. I was overwhelmed. I was doing too much. And, for me, like, I'll ask people too, do you spend time doing deep work? And if your first question is, what is that? You probably don't. But for me, when I first started deciding to block out time to do deep work, I didn't even know what to do with that time, because I was so used to being like, go, go, go all the time. I was like, okay, well, now I've blocked out deep work. Like, what do I do in deep work? And so that's how ingrained it was. So you can ask yourself, like, do I identify with that? Right? If I told you to sit down and do 2 hours of deep work, would you even know what to do with it? And so, yeah, I think that's the best way to self-assess. The other thing you can do is you can look at, what are the types of things that are being assigned to me? Am I being assigned a lot of tactical work, a lot of, quote, quote, doer type work, or am I being really, assigned more strategic projects? And that's another indication, because if you're acting like a doer, people are going to treat you like a doer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When people say I've got loads of responsibilities, they give me everything. I'm like the workhorse, and I'm like, yeah, you've fallen into that. You're in the doer. They see you as a doer. And I like, at the beginning of the podcast, you said that you get rewarded for being the doer by being given the manager title, but that's where the rewards kind of end. And that's where most women will be stuck for long periods of time. And some women never get out of being stuck there. And I think just you talking about it and the way you're sharing it is going to help so many people that are listening to this right now. So I do thank you for the way you are just explaining it, because I think that it's so easy to see it in real life. Like the calendar example, Go look at your
Yeah.
calendar. That's just it. It is so straightforward because I remember being the manager and literally the one who has no space on the calendar, no time for
Mhm.
lunch, and somehow still ends up leaving work late. Even
Yep.
like I'm doing all the things and doing nothing at the same time because I literally would have maybe 10 minutes for quickly to go and grab something to eat and then somehow still end my day at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m.
Yep.
When
Oh,
work everyone else left at 5.
it's so out of control. Like I know I'll meet clients before they work with me and they'll be saying like, "Oh yeah, I've got meetings all day, so I get my work done after work."
Yep.
And I'm like, oh dear, like we need
Yeah.
to we need to talk."
Yeah, we need to find how you're gonna say no and delete the. And I remember the first time I ever deleted things out of my calendar and also just rejected um invites. And I
Yeah.
remember rejecting them and thinking, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know who was gonna tell me off, but I felt like I was gonna get like I was doing something wrong by deleting them. And the fact that you said that then when you had space in your calendar, you didn't know what to do with it. I really resonate with that because it almost feels like when you're in school and you're like playing truant or playing hooky and you don't go to school when you should be in school, or it feels like I'm doing something wrong because I've got these
Mhm.
2 hours when I'm used to firefighting or I'm used to being reactive. Now I'm going to do deep thinking and I don't know what that means. And I'm just sitting here. And in my mind, it used to be, I'm being lazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would feel guilty for thinking. And I hear this all the time that and then I actually what allowed me to make this change was really shifting my mindset and
Mm,
really embracing the fact that okay, think about it this way. Early in your career, what is your currency? You have no skills yet. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you probably have an educational background, but
Yeah.
like,
But
but
nothing.
early in your career, you're not an expert yet, right? Like, that's just the cold hard truth. You're building your skills, and so your currency is your time and your ability to get things done, get them done on time, do the extra, put up your hand. Like that is what sets you apart. The challenge is when we keep doing that, because once you are a manager, senior manager, director, your value has changed. Now, your most valuable currency is your expertise. So, if you're spending your time running around like a chicken with your head cut off and like doing all these little tactical things that people on your team could be doing, you are doing yourself and your company a disservice. Like, it is actually more valuable for you to spend your time thinking about, is this the right strategic direction? Like, what are the problems we need to solve? What needs to change in my department or this function or on this team? Because now your currency has changed. So when I started to think about it that way, that really allowed me to give myself permission to move from being more of a doer to more of a thinker.
Oh, excellent mindset shift. I love that. I could speak to you for hours. I really love your perspective on this. Um, One last question. How can women showcase themselves as senior leaders in their resume and in interviews?
Great question. I think the biggest thing I would focus on, if it was me, is ensuring that you're sharing your impact and not just what you've done, right? So, what
Mm,
happens is we tend to share our job responsibilities. Sometimes we share the outcomes, but we don't tie it to impact. And we often don't share it in a way that is like ROI related or really measurable. And if you want to be speaking like senior leadership material, like or language, you want to be really demonstrating like the impact that you had and how that was measured. So that is
mm.
a big switch for a lot of people. I take a look at people's resumes and I'll be like, okay, so you're telling me you like manage this team. Were you good at it? Were you bad at it? Like I can't even tell, right? Like
Yes. I
I'm
always
looking
say, why
there.
does it matter? Like, I'll
Yeah,
read someone's resume and I'll be like, okay, you did that. Why does it matter? And they'll be
yeah,
like, what do you mean? I'll be like, you didn't tell me why it matters. I don't like, were you good? Like, who did it help? Like, how did it change the business?
exactly.
Like, why does it matter? Why should I care? I always say to people, ask yourself when the person's reading it, why should they care? Have you told them why they should care about the thing that you've written?
Exactly. And the other big mistake I see people make that again, it makes me think they're not quite there yet is they're not being concise, right? They're not being succinct. And so instead of having 5 bullets under that last job, you have like 18 bullets. And I'm
Yes.
like, listen, we all know you did lots of stuff. Okay. Like, good for you. You did lots of stuff. There's no way all 18 things were equally important. And the problem when you list out every single thing you did is that it's hard for people to really zero in on the things that really mattered. Right?
Yes.
It's like if there's a long list of bullets, I'm like, I'm kind of skimming it. My brain's a bit overwhelmed. And so I'm like, no, just list the really great things. And they will ask you for more information. Like the idea here, your resume is not supposed to get you the job. It's supposed to get you the interview.
Yes.
So like once you
Thank
get into the
you.
interview, they can ask you how you achieve, X, Y, Z or whatever. So, and people seem to think that like the resume is going to get them across the finish line. I'm like, no,
Yes.
take out some words. So that's the other thing is, I don't like fluffy stuff in resumes. I don't like
Mm.
too many words. Well, just share the impact, just share what matters. And anything you can demonstrate that had like sort of a more company wide impact as well, right?
Mm.
Like anything outside of just your team, that's also a really powerful thing you can share.
Oh, I love that. I love everything you said. Everything you said. Amazing.
We're
Because
so aligned.
it's so aligned. Like, just take out the rubbish. Like, I cannot, like, I cannot stand a resume that just waffles on. But I also
Mhm.
understand that a lot of the time people do not know what's important. And people say to me all the time, I'm scared that if I take that out, that's the thing they're looking for. And I think
Yeah.
you summarized it so well. The only thing they're looking for is your impact, your influence. Like, what
Mhm.
did you do and why does it matter? And I always say, let's take it back to just basics. How much profit did you make? How much money did you save? What teams did you grow? Like, let's take it back to the most impactful things, the things they care about. Because
Mhm.
again, like your example, the 18 bullet points, there is no way every single one of those bullet points shows your impact or influence. Like, there's just no way. And yes, it might show impact, but is it impact that they would care about? Is it
Totally.
impact where you've impacted your colleagues? That's great, but does the person interviewing you or speaking to you or who's going to shortlist you for a director or VP role, is that impact something they would care about?
Yeah.
No, because it's not at the level that you're trying to aim for. So I love that you said that. And I think a lot of what you said also translates in interviews. Like, would you agree? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
diver-
Like for an interview, another, analogy I like to use is think about politicians and how if you ask them a question, like they just answer whatever they want.
yes.
Like they know their talking points. And you should, again, you don't want to go all the way in that direction, but you want to go 10% in that direction in the sense of know your impact stories before you walk in. Like don't try to come up with them on the fly. Like you should have 4 or 5
Yeah.
stories that where you really demonstrated clear impact. You did something significant, and it doesn't always have to be 9 figures, or it doesn't always have to be I grew a team of 100 people. It can be something. I think about there was an organization that I was at. We were kind of like pre-revenue, and we were figuring it out, right? And so when I think about what were my bullet points from when I worked there, it wasn't 9-digit growth or any of that stuff because we just didn't get there. Instead, it was, I figured out the entire sales process. I built a commercial org from scratch. I, initiated and really sold like a clinical trial partnership with the Mayo Clinic. Like there's things I could still say that I did,
Yes.
even right. So I think a lot of us we sell ourselves short in terms of the things that we've done. So think about what are those impact stories, and also think about what is the job you're applying for, right? Like make sure that you look at, okay, this is the job that I'm applying for. These are the bullet points that they have listed in terms of their ideal candidate. Come up with some stories that are really going to tie in well to that role. Like you want them to be related. And again, I think people, I don't know if it's like, we don't want to do the extra work of like tailoring every single resume and I
Mm.
get it, but the days of blindly applying online are kind of over, right? So
Ooh,
if you're
especially in this
looking
job
for,
market, there's just no way in
yeah,
this job. This job market is chaos, so there is no way.
so it's like you're better off to reach out, have a human conversation, and actually
Mm.
tailor your resume a little bit, right?
Yes.
Um, And so, I like to remind people of that, you if you really do care about the role, put in that little bit of extra and really ensure that you are tying your experience to what you can do for them.
Oh, yes, I love that. Listen, to me, a resume is like a good movie trailer. It
Yeah.
should make me want to know more. And the interview should be the 5-star movie. It should not be that the trailer was better than the actual movie. Like, I want to, when I
Totally.
meet you at interview, I need you to be like, blow me away because I already saw the trailer. I loved it. I wanted to see more. You came in, and I think a lot of people do, like you said, the reason their resumes are so long is they're relying on that to get them the job. When
Yeah.
actually a resume can only get you in the door. And then people will say to me, "Oh, I've had so many rejections." And then when I talk to them about the interview, it's exactly what you said. They went in, they didn't have any stories prepared. They hadn't thought about like what are the most impactful things. And the truth is, we all have, when you get to that level, you have done so much in your career that it is hard to remember every single thing off the like just off the cuff.
Yeah.
I have There are certain things that are always in my mind. There's certain things that I've made impact in companies, and they live rent free in my mind. I'm always going to remember them. But there are other things that when I go back and look, I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, I forgot I did that. That's really relatable to this role. Let me talk about that. And I think that's really important. Like having that information, going back, writing down your wins. I remind people all the time, go back through every single job because we have this really bad habit of only remembering what we've done in the last 6 months. Go
Yes.
back to the last job you had, go back 2 years, go back 3 years, go back 5 years, because some of the things you've done, if you remember something you've done 6 years ago, I promise you it will trigger a memory of something that you've done in the last 2 years, because we rely on just, okay, what have I done recently?
Yeah.
But your career isn't recently. Your expertise wasn't built in 6 months. It was built over the years of everything that you've done. So I think that's also super important for people to remember. But I'm in such agreement with you. Like, the resumes do not need to have every single thing you've ever done in life on them, but they do need to have all the impact that you've created. And
Yeah.
you should just be the star of the show, and you need to prep. A lot of people don't like prep, but I always say it's better to do all the work at the beginning to get everything you want at the end.
Oh yeah,
Because
people, so for example, in my program, certain sessions we do role playing at the end
oh,
and people will drop off. And I'm like, okay, listen, I know role playing is awkward, but would you rather test this out for the first time in the interview or in the meeting with your boss or like whatever the thing is?
right,
And like, this is the place to screw it up. Like, this is the place to
right.
try it out, get it wrong, get feedback. And then once you walk into that meeting or that interview, you get to ace it. So it's like a few minutes of discomfort, well worth your dream job, I think.
100%. Few minutes, I say all the time, even when it comes to negotiating your job, 5 minutes of discomfort could literally change your whole entire life. That's it. Like, let's just
Totally.
go through the discomfort so that when we get to the real thing, we know what we're doing. It's like athletes. Athletes do not show up on the field on the day and win.
Yes.
the,
Yes.
the 10 seconds that we see and we're like, wow, that little sprint, the 100 meters, we see them, that's not where they show up and do the work. The work was put in a year, 2 years. The work was put in way beforehand. Your
Yep.
interviews are the same. Like, if you want to shine in that half an hour, that 1 hour interview, the work started way before you turned up. So
100%.
thank you. Oh, like I said, I love talking to you. This has been
Same
great.
here.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know that people are going to really enjoy this episode, especially those women who have been stuck at that manager level for a while. Before I let you go, please let the audience know where they can connect with you, how they can work with you, all the things.
Oh yeah. So if you liked what we talked about today, definitely follow me on LinkedIn. I post every single day. And I have even I've got a free newsletter I write every week. You can take advantage of that. I also have my program for landing your first VP role. So if that's something that you are interested in doing, or if that might be a director role, depending on where you're located, feel free to reach out. Just send me a DM. I'm always in my DMs. So I'm happy to share more. And, my mission is I want to help like as many women as possible to get their seat at the table. But yeah, come follow me on LinkedIn. It's fun over here.
Oh, LinkedIn is the great place. I love it over there. So yeah, definitely follow Katy over on LinkedIn. Her posts are great. Her insights are great. And also, everything Katy just spoke about, I will have it in the show notes, guys. You know how I am. I'll have everything in the show notes so you can just click her links and go straight over there. So yeah, if you're listening to this, just scroll down in the show notes and you'll find Katy's links and you can connect with her. Katy, I want to thank you again for being here. It has been lovely to have you. And thank you so much for sharing all your insights, all your expertise. I definitely know this has helped someone. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, I need you to like it, comment, ask us questions. You guys know, ask me questions in the comments. I will respond. And if I can't answer them, I'll ask Katy to answer them. I'll send you her LinkedIn page because I'm sure the answer will be there. Her posts are excellent. But yeah, thank you again, Katy. It has been wonderful.
Thank you so much. I love this conversation.
It has been great. No, it has been really, really good. And guys, I hope you loved the episode and I will speak to you again in the next one. Take care. I hope this episode gave you exactly what you needed and motivated you to confidently take steps towards your next career move. If you enjoyed it, screenshot and share it on your socials, tag me on Instagram, and come join my community of amazing women working on leveling up their confidence and career. Thanks for listening and see you next time.